Okay, this is the misleading graphs activity. You should see 6 tabs at the bottom. Teachers will have the 6 tabs, students will have the 3, and you'll see why in a minute. If you don't see the 6 tabs, make sure the activity is maximized. Okay, so this first one says phones. You can start this in one of 2 ways. You can either say, hey, do these 2 graphs show the same information? Or you could ask a question saying which graph shows that the droid, half the people own droids as iPhones. Okay, so chances are a lot of your students may say graph B just because that's how it appears. Then start analyzing your graph, see what's alike, see what's different, and see if students can tell that the y-axis is, the values on them are different. Okay, you can drag away the covering on the table, and then you can actually see that BlackBerry for both graphs shows 44. It just looks different. Now you can show here about how you can change the value of the y-axis. If you want to right click on the y-axis, go to Format Axis. It may be on any of these tabs, but make sure the Scale tab is clicked, and this is how you change the minimum and maximum, and this is a lot of what they'll have to do, and by changing those 2 values, it'll change the look of the graph. Okay, you may want to have questions in there like, why would people have misleading graphs? Do you know any situations where the graphs are misleading? Any of those type of questions. The next page shows movies, and if you click on the movie tab, I have 4 different clips of movies. The whole thing lasts like a minute and a half, and they're romantic movies, action, drama, and scary, and it's hard to find a scary PG movie, so it's really an old one. Question, which one do you think you would choose as a class? Once again, if you pull this away, the covering away, let them look at the graph and say, okay, well, it looks like most of the people on this campus chose romantic, and get some reaction, because this is typically not what most of the classes would choose. Well, pull the covering away from the table, and let's look at who they surveyed. Well, they surveyed the girls and the boys, but look at the difference, 100 girls and 20 boys. And then you could discuss how, is this a fair representation, yes or no, why or why not. Okay? The next tab would be TV shows. Right here, they just need to look at the graph and look at the table. Is this a fair representation, why or why not? Well, of course, all they surveyed was 7 students, so you really need a larger sample to get an accurate representation. Okay, starting on page 4 with music, this is where the students will start manipulating the information and changing the values on the y-axis. It says 5 students are in charge of picking out music for the 8th grade. You can see right from this, the graphs look the same. Everything looks pretty even, but these students just so happen to really like rock music. They need to manipulate graph B to make it look like rock is way more favored than all the other types of music. So once again, if you right click on the y-axis or the numbers, go to Format Axis, and remember, what did you do before, or what made the graphs look so different? Well, if I change this to 40, and this can be where they kind of experiment and see what works, what doesn't work. Okay, let's go from 40 to 50 and see how that'll change the look. Well, now it looks like rock is way more popular than the other, but you see from the table, they're pretty close. Okay, so this is one of the ways that they can make it swing in their favor. For the next tab, for the restaurant tab, they'll actually create their graphs, 2 graphs. Local restaurants are coming to their school, and they want make the first graph that shows TGI Fridays far above the competition. And so what I did here, you highlight the table, click on the chart wizard, and usually it defaults to the column chart. You can click on finish, you don't have to go through all the next, and then size the graph to where it doesn't cover up your whole screen. And if you look at here, it just automatically, because it set the minimum to 75. It may set it to 75, it may set it to 0. But remember, they have to do 2 graphs. So if they do the second graph, highlight the information, click on the chart wizard, click finish. Okay, and let's go ahead and size this one as well. But they want chart B to show all the restaurants being very close in popularity. So once again, if you right click, Format Axis, And this time I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to put this on 0. Now let's look at how the graph displays. Okay, now it shows them really very close, and you may want to have a discussion with your students which one would be more accurate. Okay, graph A or graph B, why or why not. And then for tab 6, you're going to do the same thing. It gives you a scenario. They'll create the two graphs and manipulate the axes to fit whatever the graph's supposed to look like.